Hello, Tracy.
Yes, the sir speaking.
Been long overdue. The newspaper, the Southwestern Weekly Kansas City Call. We are privileged to have a couple of their stars on the show today, and this show goes way back to 1919. We have Miss Tracy Adam. Adam, let me get that right. Uh, we also have Jason, and we have Aaron. We have our engineer. So what we want to do is this show is dedicated to the Kansas City Call. The things that UMA, United Minority Media Association, has planned for them, which the Call, KPRS, and the organization UMA formed this back on August 28, 1974. We're going to get a little background, what you're all about, what people expect, and we want to build you to be the number one in this city, but not only in this city, but also we want you to reach out to other places. We want to make the Kansas City Call well known, not only working with the community, but letting the community know what's going on with the Southwest Weekly publication. So first, what we want to do is Tracy is now, what is your title, Tracy? Give us a little background, and then we'll go to Jason, okay?
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. I'm Tracy Allen. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Kansas City Call newspaper. For many of you that remember or may not remember, I became editor back in June of this year, 2023. But before that, I actually worked for 19 years with the Call, really from 1998 until 2017. That's when I actually retired really from the journalism profession altogether. And at that time, I wanted to, before I got too old, I wanted to go into, start my own business. Something that my grandpa did, Russell, and something that my dad did when I was a young kid growing up. Actually, right in the 5th District. I grew up right around 57th and Agnes and Bell Fountain. But anyway, I wanted to do kind of what he did. He had a small cleaning business, but he also had he helped take over my grandpa's business. My grandpa had what would I say, a pretty decent-sized paper route back in the late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, until he passed. And so I kind of wanted to do what some of my family members had done. That's why I wanted to leave early in 2017. Actually, I started my current business, which is a courier business, in 2016. But that is a long story short to our listeners, is that I was with the Call 19 years before I retired, and then I returned in the summer of 2023. Other than the fact that I had 35 years of experience as a journalist, like I mentioned, 19 years with the Call. I also worked for a short period of time with the Kansas City Star in their sports department, as well as I was a sports writer in Fort Worth, Texas, at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Definitely with the Charlotte Observer, which is one of the newspapers I absolutely loved, because I had I actually got to really experience what it was like to cover both not only sporting events, but just events at historically black colleges and universities in North Carolina. There's quite a few, in fact. So I really enjoyed that night. Got my first taste of actually covering and attending the CIAA tournament when it was held, like obviously in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So I got a real good taste of our life, black life, particularly in the South and especially in the Southeast. So that was one of probably my most favorite places to work, the Charlotte Observer, because I got to do a variety of things, but specifically when it came to coverage of black colleges. So that's really who I am. I'm from Kansas City. I'm a Kansas City native. Like I said, I grew up in 5th District mainly, but I also lived when my family moved when I was 15 years old to Johnson County, and I went to Shawnee Mission South High School, and I'm a 1980 grad of Shawnee Mission South. And from there, I moved on a little bit westward, not far, about 100 miles, 120 miles, to a university that goes by the name we all like to say, EMAL, Every Man a Wildcat. So I am a 1984 K-State grad. And I have a degree in journalism and mass communications with emphasis in news editorial and magazine. So that's who I am.
Nice career. Well, living to Manhattan in Kansas State, I have a relationship with when I was in high school. That was the first college that tried to recruit me out of Kansas State.
Okay, yeah, K-State is a good university. I think most people who have any history from the standpoint of armed forces know a lot about Fort Riley and Junction City. And the one thing about that is when you were in Junction City, when you're in Manhattan, it was not unusual, and it is still today not unusual to hear, how would I say, cannons going off because of the fact that the Army base does a lot of their drills. This is an Army base that obviously sent a lot of troops to, and I'm pretty sure they still do, to Afghanistan, Iraq, and obviously Vietnam, and Korea. So I do know that for a fact. But that was the one blessing of being there, is even though we were a small university town, you got to mingle with people that were in the armed forces, and I thought that was really cool.
Yes. We also Jason. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jason.
Yes.
Welcome.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
This is MC Richardson, Chairman, CEO of the United North Media Association. I want you to just give the people some background on your involvement in the call, different people, your relatives, your mother, and things like that, to make it. And we wanted this to be the #1, not only black newspaper, but the newspaper who can reach the people of color, but not limited to.
Well, my name is Jason Joseph. I've been around the call since 2002 in some capacity. I started off doing sales, and then IT, information technology, and then I left and came back after 2008 and was there for a while doing IT and then some other general technology things. And then I left again to go work for another IT company, and then I came back, this time as operations manager. And so my role at the call is basically to see that it operates efficiently and Everything runs the way it's supposed to. My family has been involved in the call paper in some way or another ever since it came about. My great grandmother, Hannah Settles, wrote for the call paper in Mexico, Missouri, when literally they would have people write letters into the call during the Jim Crow era about what was going on in their town and around the surrounding area, all the way out in Mexico, Missouri, which is just about 100 miles from St. Louis. And then after that, my aunt was a reporter for the call for a number of years, and then became the editor-in-chief as well. And then my mother came on to help run some back office things around 2010. And then when my aunt passed, the paper went to my mom. And now, as my mom is aging, I'm helping run the paper. And so, yeah, that's basically my introduction to the call paper. Now, I've lived in Kansas City all my life. I grew up for the first 8 years of my life on 77th and Prospect by Old Fairyland Park. And then we moved out to Martin City, and then I finished my schooling, my elementary and secondary education at Grandview, and then I went to college at Park University up in Parkville, Missouri. I've been here basically all my life. I've got 3 kids and a wife. We live in Johnson County. My kids go to North, and that's pretty much it. Still part of the community.
Yes. Well, Jason, it's nice to know. You didn't mention your mother's name.
Her name was Gloria Joseph. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, my mother's name is Gloria Joseph. She spent the first couple years of her life in Mexico, Missouri. They moved from Mexico, I think she was 5 or 6, and they lived off of 18th and Norton. My uncle and my aunt, and then she grew up there off of 18th and Norton, graduated from East High School in '61. She was one of the first classes that was integrated in Kansas City Public Schools. My aunt then graduated from Central. My mom went to Park University as well, and my aunt went to, my Aunt Donna went to Lincoln University, in Jeff City. So, yeah, that's
okay. We want to get the whole family tree involved here, and that we can see. Yes. By the way, my name is Al Folks. I'm the CEO and the founder of the Missouri Chamber of Commerce. And I'm also one of the co-hosts of the MC Business Center to come to Kansas City. And so, I thank MC for letting me be part of a show like this, which definitely tells the history of the roots that kind of keep Kansas City, Missouri together. That's not that Kansas, Missouri, but also the whole Metro Kansas City together. With a history that's the fiber of the city. And I thank both of you for taking the time to be part of the digest today.
Go ahead.
MC. I just want to try to get things going there.
Okay, the Kansas City Call is the oldest black-owned newspaper in Kansas City, and might be for the state of Missouri too. And
when was it founded?
1919. Actually, we're the oldest African American newspaper west of Mississippi, I believe.
Yes.
The newspaper, one of the newspapers in St. Louis, is actually might be right up there close to us as far as.
The St. Louis American, I think, is right with us.
I think St. Louis American or the St. Louis Oregon, which one was it? One of those two.
St. Louis American is definitely older than St. Louis Argus, and like Jason mentioned, they are right about up there as far as the number of years. But yes, as far as any newspaper that's a color, particularly African American, American west of St. Louis. So we definitely are the oldest. In fact, Jason might mention this, in September, actually the first portion of September, we will be celebrating our 104th anniversary. So that should tell people that we've been around for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got a story to tell.
Yes, and a story to continue to tell.
That's the best part about it. That's the best part. You know, one of the things that unfortunately, well, I also host a show on Triggers in USA, hottalkyou.com, called Lunch with the Military Commerce. And today we were kind of dedicating just a little small history of Black American history. The late Michael Brown was killed this week on August 9 years ago. And I'm quite sure in the history that you guys have been around and tell much bigger stories than that. Because, and I was saying on our program today, people don't read a lot, nor do they listen a lot in our Black community. And that's what we need to change that.
Well, like I said, I think that one of the things is it's really easy from an African American standpoint to get stuck in the way we've done things. But one of the things that I mentioned in our column that I wrote in June, and that applies to everything. That particular column was talking about some of the unfortunate incidences that were taking place in our community, aka murders among our community. But one of the things I said, in order for us to improve, whether it's how we view life, at least the life of other people, or how we view things in purpose, is in order for us to expect change, we have to change our mindset. And that is the one thing that I wanted to speak on from the standpoint of the call. Yes, the call is going through some changes, but I believe Jason would support me on that, it's very good changes that must be made. Right, improvements, because all of us know, and particularly those of us that are in media has drastically changed over the last 20 years. And obviously with the internet being a major factor, and in technology moving at a speed that I can't even count anymore, no, but you have to stay up to speed, and you have to stay up to what's going on in what we're facing right now, with changing of the technology, changing of the way how people receive information. So I'm excited in a lot of senses. It's one of the reasons, even when I came back, once we worked through some things, that I feel very confident we're headed in the right direction. Jason can probably tell you a little bit more of some of the stuff that he and another gentleman named Terrell Young have been working on even before I returned in June, that I think really kind of has moved the call forward, so we can then do some of these things that we're trying to do now and are doing now as far as editorial and content. So I know Jason can probably talk on that other stuff that they were doing.
Right. One of the things, I'm going to dovetail what Tracy's talking about. One of the things I think is interesting is that, and I'm probably going to be controversial when I say this, African Americans as a whole, we tend to be conservative in mind. I'm not speaking politically, but in mind when it comes to technology. We like to hold back and keep older things going. And I jokingly often sometimes about things my grandmother would say or what have you. In particular, I'm going to bring up a funny about when the old cathode ray TVs, the old CRT TVs, would get a gas bubble in the side. She would make a joke and say, well, it's about played out. But that TV would still run for another year or two until we got rid of it, because it still had use in it. And there's social, economic, and cultural reasons why we did things like that. But that being said, the media landscape is changing drastically. And one of the things that we're trying to do in a small way, if you pick up the last 2 issues of the call, you'll notice that there's these weird little squares on certain advertisements, especially ones for renewals and subscriptions. And that's really what they call a QR code. And that basically allows us to digitize part of the paper without digitizing the paper. So, for example, you can now do a renewal on your phone with that QR code. You grab the paper, you scan it with your phone, you can do a renewal of your subscription. Or if you want to subscribe, you can do that with that QR code. You scan that QR code with your phone, and bam, you're there. You're able to do those things. And I'm also encouraging some of our advertisers to start to go that way as well. And it also drives people to the internet, where really is the future of the newspaper business and journalism itself. It's really moving to on the internet. So those things are things that we're trying to integrate and move forward with the community itself. And we're also trying to skew younger. Younger people consume media differently than the older generations do. They like to listen to things more than read. On the website, we have the ability for someone to play the article instead of read the article. So the article will read itself to you without having, and that works on a phone or a tablet or on a computer. So younger people tend to do that more than they do read. And I think that's fine. That's great. We're trying to meet people where they are for how they consume media and how they interact with media.
Well, Jason, I was thinking you this today. Once we get this program, I'll be able to you and the program, and to any listeners that you want to hear, it shall repeat it. They can hear it on their cell phones, on their computers, anything that's because we're an internet radio station also.
Right.
And I don't know if he told you, but we also can be seen live today on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch also. And all of our shows can be found on Spotify. And when you get a podcast, and you can get a copy of today's show also.
Right, and that's one of the things we're also trying to do as well. Like here pretty soon, we're going to start rolling out some podcasts and some other things because, again, you want to meet your consumers where they are. And as much as we like to poo-poo people not reading, you know, we need to meet them where they are. We can't just berate people into reading. We got to meet them where they are. And I'll even go one step further. I've got myself. I'm Gen X. I've got a collection of books. I read, but I don't read like my mother or my grandmother read. Not even close. And my kids, I read to them all the time when they were children to get that love of reading. And they read, but they don't read like me. Right. They read, but they don't read like I do. They listen to podcasts. They listen to, or they watch Twitch. They're on YouTube. They're on TikTok. They do Threads. They do Twitter. And so their interaction with media is way different than mine ever was or hoped to be when I was their age. So the call is also trying to get involved in more social media. We know our readership tends to be on things like Facebook, which is where we're focused on right now, but we're also looking at Threads, which is on Instagram and Instagram itself, and moving in that direction of things. So, you know, the call is growing and moving in that digital realm of social media. Not that we're going to leave our readership behind, because they're important too, and there will always be, I think, someone that wants to read or physically hold the media, but we still need to meet other people where they are.
Right, and I want to piggyback off on what Jason said too. Jason is correct. We don't want to leave our audience behind, and we know that our audience at least not necessarily currently right now, because we are picking up young people again. But we know that at least for the last 40-some, 50-some years, the call has been basically predominantly a publication that people 45 and above are reading. What we're trying to do, and I think one of the things that Jason mentioned about as far as Black people, as far as sometimes we're conservative, not necessarily in our politics like he's mentioned, but we're conservative in that if it's worked this way for so long, why change it? Well, just like Jason said, that 45 and above crowd needs to understand, and I'm just going to say I'm at the end of the baby boom generation. I'm 61, so I'm at the very end of it. Even my generation, I just want to mention even my generation has gone towards not only gone all the way towards the internet, gone all the way towards receiving their information online. And so I think that what we can do from the happy medium is that our older generation, or those of us that are older, we need to understand that a lot of people are receiving information in different ways. And so in order to continue with that, we must meet that audience as well. And that's one of the things we're doing. Before I speak on anything else, one of the things you noticed in the last couple of editions is we began partnerships with several Black media organizations here in the Kansas City area that we know are doing good work. Obviously, the Kansas City Defender, which is a younger audience, that younger audience is kind of prone to that. We have begun that partnership. We've also begun the partnership with Cascade Media Group, where Jason mentioned about the fact that we're going to be here in the near future, going to be presenting podcasts for our listeners and readers online. But right now, currently, we're doing sort of like a video podcast, more or less is what I would say, with Cascade Media Group and What's Up Kansas City. I've already have had several interviews, and I will continue to be doing interviews where people can check to see, hey, this is what's going on with this particular organization that represents people of color, or this individual that is a person of color doing these kind of things. Like mentioning Ariel Nash, who her and her father, former councilman Troy Nash, they own actually a business that specifically focuses on trying to find affordable ways of whether it's housing. A lot of people didn't know that, but we feel like one of the ways you can do it is easy to write about it in a story, but it's really even more easier to actually go to a website or hear it on a podcast from the individual's mouth stating what they're doing. And, those are just some things we're doing.
Well, I think one of the things, Larry, and one of the things that I commend both of you for being at the table at a very exciting time as we're watching a transition in technology all around the world. As a matter of fact, I'm the founder and CEO of the Missouri Chamber of Commerce, and I have to say this to you, Kansas City. Because a link to this, we have a conference in Atlanta, Georgia, in the end of the month, where we're bringing together the International Business League, which you probably be familiar with, the World Conference of Mayors and the National Chamber of Commerce. And we also have people from around the world coming in to be a part of the conference we have in Atlanta, but also next year in April, we're going to have a similar conference here in St. Louis, in Ferguson, Missouri. And I'd like you guys invitation to be a part of that, but having said that, we welcome, Mr. Chamberlain, we welcome you to be involved with what we're doing. Our goal is to create relationships around the city of Missouri so we all can be on the same page and not just be so centered. Like for one, like Kansas City is on one side, is on the other side. we should come together as one. And the more we speak as one, the more better we can make more changes. Same way our mayors, Mayor Jones and Mayor Lucas. Yes,
yeah, that
that's
was
what the team was
one of the
here
things
for.
you mentioned. Yeah, that's one of the things that we're trying to do. Like, and I think Jason would probably join in on that. That's the reason we are partnering with, the Kansas City Defender, with the Cascade Media Group, with Urban American Outdoors, which does basically not only shows, television shows, actually, which you can see on Bounce TV, as well as other television, because we believe that the more the merrier. Let's just face it. We can go out and do our little things and try to be the big dog, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just stating that more the merrier. If all of us can come together, we can bring more information to our community, things that maybe one organization, one media organization has more than the other. And so that's what we're doing on that. Jason might want to talk about that.
I think there's a phrase that has been floating around the newsroom and office at the call probably the past month, and it's kind of become a mantra for me. We're better together.
Yes.
And I think that there's a lot of truth in that. I think there's several different media outlets, and that's great. There needs to be a diverse voice in the media landscape. At the same time, we also should partner with each other when we can, and I think those things are good because we're better together. I will say one other thing that kind of really struck me this year. It was either in June or May. I was watching YouTube, and I follow on YouTube CBS News, and they have a program Sunday morning, who I'm sure we've all watched some point in time in our lives. But they had a story out of South Carolina about the big newspaper in Charleston. I can't think of the name of it right now, but the big newspaper in Charleston, and how they've come up with a fund, and they have people who back this grant for this fund for smaller newspapers for investigative journalism. And investigative journalism, if you are in the media market or in the media business, investigative journalism is terribly expensive. You're paying a journalist for a month or 2 months or 3 months for a story that may or may not come to fruition. And so the thing that they're doing there, which I kind of took some things from that we're trying to do at the call, is to partner up with other organizations that are reporting on the news. You don't need to report the exact same thing, but you can glean some information out of that for what you and your media organization needs to do and report on. There are smaller newspapers throughout the state of Missouri that I think if we work together, we can go further. I'm right now also trying to develop a relationship with the Northeast News. It's an organization that covers the northeast part of Kansas City. What goes on in the Northeast also goes on in the Southwest. It goes on in the Southeast. It goes on north of the river. These problems that African Americans are facing throughout the city and the state and the county and the country everywhere else are same issues that other African Americans face elsewhere. And the more varied voices we get, the more we get nuanced ideas and thoughts, the better we are as a whole, as a community. And that's one of the things I really want the call paper to push. It's not a bunch of kumbaya and love and hold hands type stuff, but literally pushing those points of views, those opinions that aren't always heard, and that might be divisive, but they still should be heard because they're valid.
You know, Jason, there's so much truth in what you just said, and one of the things that we as a Black community tend to be somewhat territorial. We want to talk about somebody else's neighborhood, and it never happens in my neighborhood. But we have to understand, when I travel the country, I go places, they talk about Missouri. Well, I think, when I say Missouri, I'm thinking about Kansas, I think about St. Louis, like Mexico, Missouri, like the Ozarks, I think about Haytown, Missouri, places like that. People say, oh, that's in Missouri. Yes, it is. And I think the same way there's a story to tell in Kansas City. You may have different newspapers that tell different stories, but they all need to be kind of merged into one place. Because whatever happens, something happens, you're not going to say Southeast or Northeast. You're going to say Kansas City, Missouri. That's where you're going to come across. Here in St. Louis, we have 87 different counties that make up the county, and only one city of St. Louis. But that's almost 90 different branches who call themselves St. Louis. And so in Kansas City, you may have people in there, but everybody want to know about what's going on in their neighborhood and also what's going on in their neighbor's background. That's one thing that we as black people, we're really curious. We want to know. And I think black newspaper is the expensive thing that's been the change and that held us together all this time, for all generations, that people can go back down and read stories, and hear stories about what got us where we are today.
I think
only know about.
Hold on. I think about time I step in. MC Richardson, I'm the founder. I'm also the chairman of the United Minority Media Association, which was founded and incorporated on August the 28th, 1974. And what happened, I was published in a magazine called City Inner and Outer. And then I got people from the Kansas City Call, people from KPRS, and we formed a group, what is known as UMA. And we served the Southwest, the Midwest, Southwest region. And I guess I go way back, just talking to Jason, I think a pretty sharp person. He's getting over to us, and everybody recommended. But what I will do as a pro bono, become a consultant advisor, and got many ideas and many different columns that the Call paper, a lot of people say, the Call paper is not reaching the community. You had other newspapers trying to do some things, but we actually live it. I used to sell Call papers when I was at Booker T. Washington. We talking about a young teenager. Boy, I used to buy it for 9 cents and sell it for 15 cents. So I go way back in that. And we got our idea, and Tracy too. Tracy's aunt, Besser, is my classmate. But we are here to keep this going, and not only that, to get the Call office where it is now, working with some contractors and do like trade outs and really put it like it should be. It's a historical newspaper, and bring in other people, bring in more youth. I know Tracy was the athlete up there at K-State, and we got some top things here in Kansas City that a lot of people are not cognizant of, but it's up to us to keep it going. I do the radio, Tracy and Jason do the newspaper, R does a multitude of things. Like they say, there's so many things that if we connect, it'd be a bigger and better place for us. And a lot of times, getting support of our own, we're the only group that don't stick together like the Asian and like the Hispanic. We kind of do our own little thing.
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the things that Jason and I and Terrell and others that are involved as far as making the improvements with the Call. The Call isn't just one, doesn't belong to one person, it belongs to the community. So even when I am looking at, in fact, this week's edition, there's a couple of things. If you look on in our front section, but near the back of it, you'll see some new columnists that have been excited about joining us as far as providing, editorial columns and things. We have one in particular, Roosevelt Lyons, who's going to be writing a lot on education, and obviously education, particularly that deals with, people of color. We have a young woman is going to be talking about health and fitness. We have one that specifically focuses on incarceration. But also, I know that a lot of our readers don't realize we have people that are non-African American that read our newspaper. And so that's why when you see Latino by the name of Gracious Cabrera, who's Hispanic, writing for us, is because they have some of the same issues that we're facing, they face in their community as well, as the Latino community. Same thing, yes, we have a person, family may know, the Campo. Yes, he's Italian. Yes, like I said, we have people that are non-African American, but we need to hear from them too, because they do read the call on a regular basis. So that's our whole focus. We're not focused on just one. I mean, even though that is our main entity, the African American community, let's not forget it. I mean, that's going to always be. But we do need to hear from those who have helped and are helping our community improve in ways, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, whatever. We still need to listen to their voices as well and not write them off just because, AKA, they don't have the same color of skin that we have.
I just want to say this. I know a lot of African Americans aren't always understanding of these things, but there's a large population of black people who speak Spanish that aren't. I mean, they get lumped with being Hispanic, but they're African. They're black. There are a myriad of voices that are African, but don't always look African. And I think one of the things at the call, we try and be inclusive of all people of color voices, and those who are allies or helping or however you want to put it, down with the cause. And I think that's one of the things that the call has always been really good about. From the stories I heard my aunt and my grandmother and my great-grandmother say, I think that's a tradition that the call has always had. I think the other thing that Tracy hit on that we're going to push more and more is our health and our mental health. I think African Americans traditionally have been working class individuals, and all we know to do is to get up in the morning, go out and work, come home, go to sleep, rinse, repeat, and do again. And I think as time is wearing on, we're starting to realize we can't do that. We have to take care of ourselves. We need to go to the gym. We need to go see doctors. We need to eat better. We need to take care of our mental health. We need to raise our children possibly a little bit different than what we have been doing. There's things that are afoot that are changing culture around us, and we need to possibly change and move with them. And the other thing is, we need to let people know we're not a monolith. I know there's other communities that see us as a monolith, and we're not. We're not one monolithic community. We're of various thoughts and voices. And again, going back to something I said before, I think those various voices need to be heard. We're not all the same. But at the same time, we are part of the community.
But Jason, let me jump in and say a couple of things right quick. Just kind of detail on what Tracy said. One of the things that we talk about our wife cohorts, but we all the normal anybody that want to reach a black community was advertisers. And they could be whether they were any color. They want to reach a black community. They're gonna buy ads in your newspaper, and that's how they sell us out. And we got a couple of years ago, the Manufacturing Commerce, so we call it the American Dream after the pandemic, when we were our online service, where the corporate America could find the black businesses that want to do business and they need to do business in their community and vice versa. Well, from that American Dream idea, we were able to meet all the billion-dollar corporations, million-dollar corporations who are looking for black businesses to do business with.
Right.
Find us, okay? And that's one thing that the call is in a new position, great new job opportunities, new opportunities for education, new opportunities, for people that's in sports, new opportunities to find out who we are. In other words, you guys are like the mirror, of our community that people are looking at.
Right.
To see how they compare to somebody else. They follow the call. And I know every time I come to St. Louis, what I do in Kansas City, what I do is I want to hear me a call newspaper. I get a call newspaper. I want you to hear a call newspaper. So that goes to the meeting we had down there at McDonald's with Sonny down there, Breakfast of Enlightenment. Things of Enlightenment, I'm sorry. Where everybody there had to have their call newspaper if to be in the room. That's what we had to have. And and they took that and went back and shared it with somebody else. And somebody else and somebody else. But then with like the thread that's there, if you guys have created that habit, and to create a habit in our black community is a hard thing to do. But there's a habit of looking for this Anthony call newspaper.
Right. Well, it has to be a habit though that is not just the habit that for many years that the call went by. Of course, the print is there, and that's been a blessing. But we have to create a habit where the call newspaper is in different formats and different platforms.
Oh, yes.
That is what we're definitely what I am excited about, because that was a fire for the paper before I even came back in June, and I am 100% sold on the direction that we're going. I believe, yes, there will be people that will say it was okay. Why did you change it? If it ain't broke, then don't.
The change is good.
The change is good, and it will be good. I think when obviously people that are reading our paper right now, when they see our younger writers, and like Jason said, the various opinions, you may not necessarily like that opinion, agree with that opinion, but that opinion still needs to be heard. And like Jason said, with me working under actually the last 5 years with Miss Bluford, of course, and then Donna Stewart, Jason's aunt, and then even now with Jason, Terrell, and Gloria, and the rest of us that are a part of it, I think that's the exciting part. Let's give the people a voice.
Right.
Okay.
Well, Trace, let me say this right quick, and we'll say that right quick. When we finish today's program, I'm going to send each one of you a copy of this program that you have on your phone. You can send it to anybody you want to, and it's part of a podcast, but it's going to tell about the cancer be called, and we're going to help you transition through this station where we have to transition where you want to be as far as getting to that generation. That's in the podcast, but you can hear your story just by calling and send it to your free from your phone about what you talked about today, about the thing that you want to do.
Right, and I'm excited. I want everyone that's listening to know I am super fired up. Love,
you should be.
For myself, when we do the partnership, we've done the partnership with Cascade Media, because those are using that as an example. That's on Facebook, YouTube.
Yes.
That's even on LinkedIn, and I've seen these shows on LinkedIn. I'm super excited about the podcast. I just think that the fun stuff that we're doing, we're just not getting started. Like I said about 2 weeks ago, we're just getting started. And I just want to say to all of those, and probably specifically to the older generation, just be patient. Just be patient. And keep a watchful eye. I think you would be, you will be pleased. I think you will be surprised. And I hope you realize the call's not going anywhere. We're just, we're just moving in a different flow that I think hopefully down the road you will come to, appreciate.
Okay, everybody's been talking. I'll have little to say, and the call was a member and wanted to become a member again and put them on the board, because the Kansas City Call and KPRS, which now owns 4 radio stations, and Yuma. And we're the oldest minority organization in the country, and we're second to none. And we need people like everybody's jumping on the bandwagon that we got a person working on to involve, at least starting out, all the historical Black college and university in the Midwest District. And like I think you was talking about the Charlotte Tribune down there in Charlotte, okay? But we have worked.
I worked at the Charlotte Observer, but I know about.
Okay.
Yeah, but I know about the Tribune. I worked at actually the Metropolitan newspaper, aka what people would say the main white newspaper in Charlotte, the Charlotte Observer, and the same thing with the Fort Worth Star Telegram.
Well, true, and I'm glad I haven't spoken with you for quite some time, Tracy. So how the hell are you?
I'm doing very good, MC. I'm just excited. I'm going to tell you why, because I had a dream about this years ago, even when I was a staff reporter at the Call, that I said, if we can just take this step. It wasn't the time, of course, and I accepted that. But if we could just take this step, I think in time the community will come along. And I have heard quite a few positives about the fact, oh my gosh, the Call is going this way and that way and that way. So,
well, we're in it with you to stay, and time goes by so quickly. And on December the 2nd, we're going to have the Yuma Midwest Southeast Regional Conference at Bruce R. Watkins. That's Saturday morning. And also, we're going to have time well spent. And one of the organizations that will be asked to do time well spent, we're just talking about that today, the Kansas City Call. We got you mentioned the urban outdoor with Candy Price.
Urban American Outdoors. Yeah, Urban American Outdoors with Wayne Hubbard and Candace Price.
Tracy, I was the one that gave them their first publicity out the Adams Mark, so I know them. But we get when you get my age and your Aunt Vesta's age, and we try to remember. But we in this to work. We want you guys to renew your membership. We want to do a lot of things together where we're going to benefit one another. Like I said, I'm going to do a pro bono type deal. But I got some ideas too and broaden the base, okay? And working with the construction people that try to get trade outs, and they act like they're very interested to bring this building back like it used to be. We have people who want to volunteer, but people who were in charge at that time had other ideas.
Folks, you have 4 minutes to go.
All right. Well, I just want to say to the audience, again, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited by the direction that we're going, and that's pretty much about it. And unfortunately, I have to go on to another engagement, but thank you guys so much for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining. You brought a lot of information to the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
And what he's saying is he's going to give y'all, put it on your telephone, your radio, or whatever. We need to reach out to all different groups so they can get a copy of this. We had a real good family reunion in Tulsa, Oklahoma last week. So we in this, and some of them will be here. We want you to be. We are a membership organization. You've always been a member. So we need to get that together. And I'll be talking to Jason about some expansion and suggestion. Of course, if we are able to reach you, Tracy, as busy as you stay, we will do so.
This is good. She's on the MC.
Okay. Well, Jason.
Hey guys, this is Jason. I just want to say thank you for having me on. And I appreciate everything you guys are doing and have done for us in the past and in the future. So thank you very much.
And Jason, I'll get together with you and Carol so we can work on this construction aspect, okay?
Okay, no worries. We'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you for the program. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Please give me safe.
Okay, we're about to close out. the show today, and just be sure to tune in each and every week. This particular portion of our radio portion, and we will have Vincent Alexander. He's a writer, and he's also going to check on the Cherokee Nation about how they've been enslaving the Indian, we'll say, mating.
She got a lot of writers in Kansas City. I mean, a whole lot of writers in Kansas City. And they tell a lot of stories about what's going on up there.
Well,
maybe on that.
Okay, well, this is something that we want to bring and suggest to them to have different writers do different articles and whatever, the same way with Black Chamber, Missouri, the same way with what we do at Yuma. We need to get more young people involved. We got a lot of room to grow, and a lot of them, they come up with good ideas, but we're here to make sure they're reality.
Amen to that.
So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. We need to get more listeners. And again, we'll reach out. We need to get sponsors. Like Cass said, he's been trying to do a lot of things for a long time. Wish him luck. I haven't met the people with the Defender yet. But we have people who are online reporters. We got people like to write. So let's get us all. Everybody wants to be the so-called boss, but let's do it together and make it very effective for everyone.
You know, you see, the Kansas City Defenders have been on the show many times, and they also won an award last year, and they going right now, they just celebrating their first year in publication, and they do a lot of great stuff in Kansas, reporting a lot of good stories, and which is really, once you accept they're doing is investigative reporting, they're doing an excellent job also.
Well, I just haven't had the opportunity to meet them as of yet.
Well, I'll make that take place, okay?
Okay. Well, with this one phone operation, I think we got. Thank you very much.
Okay. You're listening to Guess Who Come to Kansas City on Sprinkles at USAHotRadio.com. That's Mr. M.T. Richardson, the founder and the CEO of the United Minority Media Association and the producer, and also the creator of Guess Who Come to Kansas City, and you have to have us on the USAHotRadio.com. Scott Owens and my folks, CEO of the Missouri Richmond Congress. We'll talk to you again next week, same time, same day. Be where your face mask. COVID is coming back. Life is good to be safe.
And thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.